Podia is an all-in-one tool that is simple and user-friendly. But designer-friendly and learning experience-friendly are two different things. I'm Dr. Catrina Mitchum, and I've been designing and redesigning courses online since 2009. Just like all the other videos, I'm doing the same lesson. It is the brain dump with the 3 different pathways. I have video, I have audio, I have text, I have timed activities. We are going to test this lesson in this platform. Podia is built for digital product creators. They make it very easy and simple to navigate to go in and create whatever you want. And we're going to go take a look at what that looks like before I start running my 3 tests. Those tests are, can you track something other than video? Can you branch different paths for learning? And how much friction are we looking at for students? So Podia does have a really clean interface, and everything is kind of exactly where you would expect, which interestingly enough hasn't always been the case. But they have like these really big umbrellas that make everything easy to find. So I'm on the dashboard. They have all the other bells and whistles as a lot of other platforms, website, community, email, all of those kinds of things, but there's not so many options that it's overwhelming and I don't know what to click on. So I know that I want to go straight to products, even though the word products to describe courses gets me angry every time. It is easy to add a new course. So if I pick add a new product, so once I get in here into testing, your lessons will appear here. So a section is what they would call, like what I would call a module. So I might say module 1. So that piece is pretty easy to set up, and then lessons, those make sense. So I can continue to add as many lessons as I'd like. So the setup is super easy on the designer side. Being able to add and edit a sales page, the details and pricing, the availability, I don't wonder where do I find this thing the way I have in some of the other platforms. The other thing is on the purchase side. So on the student side, it is very easy to purchase. It's very easy to get right in. There weren't any hiccups there. And so Podia's got the super clean interface, and we're going to go figure out what happens when we try to actually teach something. Okay, so you can continue to add new modules, however many modules you want, but what I am the most interested in is the lessons and quizzes, because that is going to shape what we do, right? So again, I am trying to put in the same lesson I've done on all of these platforms. It is my brain dumping lesson, and it has 3 different pathways through it, depending on how you're coming to the course creation process. Okay, so I wasn't able to directly copy and paste because it does have its own kind of forced heading up here, which hopefully that means the accessibility test runs smoothly. So I did paste everything else down here. This is the build space. And so the way that it works is you start adding things just by clicking. So you can add images, videos, files, audio, and you can embed things. There aren't any other native things to build. So I can have my pick your path stuff. I do have like a walkthrough video. I can choose my video type, so I can either choose files or that I already have in Podia, which makes it nice to be able to reuse things, or I can upload from the computer. So I just picked any old video so that I could show you, like, once it uploads, you get other video options. So you can choose a thumbnail. You can also select captions. So if you have a caption file, you can upload it here. I do my captions in SRT, so I did have to convert it to VTT, but that's pretty easy. And then you can decide whether or not you want to let them download, which is also a nice feature. So because I now know everything that is possible in the space to build, I can actually answer question 1, and question 1 is, can I track something other than watching a video? I'm going to go ahead and say no, because there is no other thing to track in here, right? There are no assignments, no way to create something that is trackable other than quizzes. And I did go ahead and try and play with quizzes, and the only types of questions are actually multiple choice. There's no way to add any kind of open-ended questions, so there's no way to create submissions, there's no way to do some sort of feedback loop. And so while you can track completion on quizzes, that is not what I need, and so I'm gonna say it failed. Okay, so I did already build out a course just because the next few questions need a little bit more in there. So when I first click on Course Jumpstart, it does give me my audience progress. So I do get to see students first thing. That does mean that the edit button will take me to the place to edit all the things. It'll let me edit details, pricing. What I want to edit is the lessons so that I can show you how I worked things out. So something that I found with Podia is, like a lot of the others, there is no conditional content or conditional branching. There's just this linear structure. So I set the sections up to be module 1, step 1 brain dumping, instead of trying to fit all of the module 1 pieces in the same lesson, because it would just become a lot of click-through pieces. So everybody's gonna have to see the same content in the same order for the most part. I am gonna go show you what these lessons started to look like. So I found that each lesson you can actually grab a lesson link. And so my workaround, because there is no pathway, no way to say, oh, this is where you are, this is where you should go. The lesson linking is going to be my creative workaround. So the verdict for the second question, which is, can I design for different pathways? It fails that, right? The creative workaround is that Podia does give you a way to make it a little bit easier. So I copied the lesson links and I have a start here section in that brain dumping. And so all of these links go to the direct lesson, which makes it a little bit easier to navigate both from a learner side and from my own side. You can see I did try to do an example quiz. It did not go well because it's only close-ended questions. So we're still very much forcing this linear structure. So let's go see what this workaround looks like on the learner side of things. Okay, so this is the learner side of the course. Now I did actually select these little 1, 2, 3. I picked those icons myself, which is kind of a nice feature of Podia. So this is what it looks like. It's not quite as pretty, I think, as other platforms, but I feel like it is a little bit more functional. So I have my first module, just indicating that this is step 1. Very clearly, I need to pick on start here, and then I'm going to choose path 3. So when I click on path 3, you can see it takes me to path 3 is empty, but it does take me to path 3. And then I can, as a student, leave comments. So if you wanted to have instructions built directly into the lesson, you could say in the comments, and you could have that be the place where you have them put things. But again, that's not intuitive, and it is another kind of creative workaround. Okay, so I am actually going to play with this, and one of the things I want to point out that is honestly a little bit exciting, and hats off to Podia, because this is the first platform I think that's let me do this. As I am submitting an image as a comment, it actually lets me create alt text. A lot of times a problem that I'm running into is when I put images into a platform, I cannot actually add alt text. So this piece here is a little bit exciting. Okay, so I went ahead and submitted a comment on path 3. I am going to go back into path 1 just to show you where I landed. So this is my set of instructions. I have included my list of questions. So really, I could come down here and leave my comment here. The other things that I have done is I've embedded a video and I have embedded audio. And you can also embed other things, right? That was one of the options. And so I included just one of the forms that I have. It's not for collecting information, but you could have a form that has an open-ended question and you can collect things that way. It does make the back and forth have to happen outside of the platform, but at least there is a space to do that workaround. And it's nice because you can move all of these pieces around. There's a lot of play in where things go on a lesson page. Okay, so I've done a little bit of a creative workaround with the comments, and we're going to go check out what it's like to track students. So I can click on my student name and the course that I'm in. And I guess I kind of just see 50%. This is because, if I click on it, we can see where I clicked complete, right? I clicked complete on the start here in the path 3. So it's definitely not tracking anything else. So I could view the progress. I could also chat with myself if I wanted. That's kind of a nice unexpected feature. So if we did have a submission in another space, like in that Google form, I could come back in here and leave feedback. and we could talk about the thing. So I went ahead and grabbed a link. So in theory, the creative workaround is if you have them submit like in a Google form and you have it generate as a spreadsheet, you can make everybody their own tab, and then you can actually share that link directly in the chat if that's something, that back and forth is kind of something that is important to your course. Okay, so the other things that are available are the discussions. And so I had created a discussion where I had asked this question. As the student, I couldn't find it, but we're going to go cover that one when I do question 3. And then comments. And so this is where I had submitted the image. I'm going to go show you. So you can see there's one here. I can click on this and I can see the comment that I left myself. And so there's a lot of React options. So there is opportunity for engagement and responding and kind of making the comments kind of count as submission spaces. The only thing is that when they turn something in a comment or in a discussion, everybody is going to see it. So 1, people aren't always willing to share things that feel vulnerable in that space. 2, are you really going to ask them to? So it really just depends on the course and the purpose of having the back and forth feedback. I wouldn't use this feature. I would just keep it as comments. I wouldn't use it as a place for them to turn things like their brain dump into me. If they wanted me to take a look at it, this wouldn't work because it's such a public feature. Okay, and so question 3 is really around how much friction there is between things. So I'm back in the course as a student, and if I click on start here, I do have to click both click completed and also click on the path that I want to go to. When I get into the path, in order to actually complete the activity, there are more clicks that I have to do, right? And so if I'm doing the activity and submitting it through a form, I have to click into the form and click next and then click submit. If I am going to be using the comments, again, that is more clicks. A lot of the back and forth is going to need to happen outside of the platform, even though discussions and comments and being able to chat, those are really nice features within the platform. We're still doing some bridging of things, right? Another workaround that I had pulled in is because these discussions up here, it's not clear what we're discussing. There's no direct connection. So if I do click in there as a learner, we can see that there are discussions listed. I can start new discussions. I can leave comments. But as a designer, I did go ahead and put this discussion link at the bottom. Ideally, I would make it bigger so that we could it would be obvious. But that is like some extra clicking out and around that can make things confusing for folks. So I am going to give this a fail. There are creative workarounds, right? And so the creative workaround is like the link that I put, right? That would tell you this is where you're going to go join the discussion. And I can copy the link directly to this discussion in order to be able to link out from the path. So it's still a lot of clicking for students. There is quite a bit of friction between being able to consume the content and actually do the thing. Otherwise, the clean interface is really nice. It does give me the check marks where I have hit complete. It doesn't necessarily, in the ways that other ones have, like the green check marks that make me think, oh, I should definitely be going and doing these other paths. This one doesn't have that same kind of urgency to it, and it's really otherwise streamlined. So overall, Podia is kind of genuinely I'm going to call it the friendliest platform that I've seen so far. It just, like the others, isn't built to know whether or not learning is happening, even though they have some pieces in here that are trying to at least get at creating a space that has some connection and interaction. Okay, so I did go ahead and run the accessibility tool on the product page where you can create new products and courses. There is an alt text issue and it's with this P up here, and then there's some poor color contrast issues with this draft. A lot of times this grayed out of drafting pieces is a problem, and then the search bar. All said, that's actually not a whole lot compared to a lot of the other platforms, but I wanted to point out the issues. Okay, so now I'm on kind of the bigger course outline page, and we found 19 issues with Successible. Again, that alt text image, which is the P in the upper left-hand corner, that pops up. And then all of these kind of grayed out lines and boxes, like non-textual elements, those are all popping up. Again, these aren't things that I can control. And then we have some skipped heading levels, which again, these are pieces and parts that I cannot actually change. Okay, I ran Successible on the actual lesson editing page, and then again, just 3 issues, but I did find the P up in the upper left-hand corner is missing alt text. The poor color contrast, that is of this grayed out lesson, and then skipped heading levels. So I showed earlier in the video that I can't actually change the heading on this right here, and so that again is something within Podia. But everything else came up good. So we're going to go look at this on the learner side of things. Just kidding. I did want to come in here and look at that comment and run the alt text check. And it did. When I added the alt text to it, it did not pop up as an alt text issue, even though there are other images that did pop up as issues. Okay, so on the learner side of things, I ran Successible again. No alt text issues. There's more poor color contrast, and that has a lot to do with all of the kind of light gray pieces and parts that are on the website. And then the skipped heading level is again the same one that was popping up before that I cannot control. If you're interested in trying Successible out for yourself, the link is in the description. So the question to ask yourself is, are you selling digital products that happen to include a course? Or are you designing an experience where the course is the thing that your clients are paying for? Because Podia is not bad at the first one. If you sell a mix of downloads, coaching, memberships, and a course that works as kind of one piece of those layers, Podia is very simple, and that's a real feature for something that has a lot of moving parts. But it does fall short if you're trying to offer anything where the course contains the major transformation. Anything where your learners need to submit work, get feedback, build on things in order to make their change. And anything where you need to actually know whether or not the learning happened and you're using the course as a data point for that. So Podia isn't necessarily a bad platform. The experience wasn't terrible, but it was built for product delivery. And delivery and learning are 2 different jobs. If you're not even sure if you're ready to pick a platform, take my quiz. The link is in the description. Next week, we're doing the same lesson, the same 3 questions, and we're going to do it in Teachery. If it's not there, it'll be there next week.